welcome everybody to our second weekly webinar, Pathways for Your Journey Towards Distance Learning. We have two wonderful presenters, Evelyn Sanchez and Sarah Johnston, both National Board Certified Teachers. I want to lay out a few ground rules that I think might make this a little more enjoyable, this webinar. I want to encourage everybody, if you don't mind, our presenters would like this to be interactive. So if you wouldn't mind turning on your video, that would be great. As they present, please keep your microphones muted and use the chat box to submit questions. However, if there's something that's just really important and you have something important to say, the presenters are encouraging you to just raise your hand, hold it up like this. I will be watching a second monitor. If you see me looking to the right, it's because I have a second monitor. That's actually Erin, and so Erin's not going to show her face because it would be mine. So raise your hand if you want, and we'll just call on you, unmic, and then speak. And I will tell you that when the webinar is over, we will email everybody the slides. Now that is if you registered through Eventbrite. If you came on through another way, and I know a few of you have, and you want the slides, please just put your email address in the chat box, if that's okay. And with that, let me introduce our speakers today. Evelyn Sanchez is an early education generalist and retired National Board Certified Teacher. She has a Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education and Master of Arts from the University of New Mexico. That's my cat. Doesn't this make it so much fun? I really like when I see some of the presenters' kids doing some of their own work. There was one that was doing a scavenger hunt while it was going on. It was so much fun. Anyway, let's get back to this. Ms. Sanchez was recognized at the White House for achieving National Board Certification with the very first cohort of National Board Certified Teachers. What year was that, Evelyn?
1995.
1995. Ms. Sanchez was involved in establishing the New Mexico National Board Certified Teacher Network and elected president. Ms. Sanchez retired from public schools in Rio Rancho after 32 years of teaching and continues to advocate for students with the support of her family and network of dedicated NBCT teacher leaders. Our second presenter is Sarah Johnston. She has been teaching for 17 years, middle school, and then just this past year moved to high school. She teaches English. She received the NEA New Mexico Teaching Excellence Award in 2011. She is part of the Foundation Global Learning, or she is a Foundation Global Learning Fellow, inaugural group.
Zoom, join meeting.
To China.
Can you the link?
Let's see. And she was
text it to you real quick.
Achieved National Board Certification in 2013 and is currently a Foundation Global Learning Fellow member 2017 to the present. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over. I want you to see this slide. There is their contact information. And we will send this to you. If you want to contact them, they would welcome any of emails from you. With that, I will go ahead and pass it to Evelyn, who is going to present first.
Thanks, Ignacio, and welcome everybody. It's good to see you this evening. Our presentation is a 60-minute presentation. We're going to try and provide as much information as we can, showing you different ways to design your distant learning. We are, as they say, in a new world of online education, and we have lots of questions, and we're all in this together. This presentation is a collaboration between NEA New Mexico, National Boards, and ECHO for Education. And so as president of the New Mexico NBCT Network, I thank NEA for inviting us to be a part of this and get the information out to you guys. So if you go to the next slide, please. So I was on a call yesterday with the New Mexico PED, and it was with the New Mexico Teacher Leader Network. And the Secretary of Ed outlined some highlights for the continuous learning. And I'm sure those of you who are planning your continuous learning, you've probably seen these, but I thought we would just share this with you to show that we are working with New Mexico PED as we get our information all together to share with teachers around the state. So just a few of these highlights. I'm sure you're all identifying what technology and internet needs your students need. You're getting feedback from your families, trying to figure out how to engage your students in activities with materials that you already have. You're identifying staff needs as well. You're looking at professional learning for teachers and what technology tools you want. Some of the things I know for special ed teachers, Secretary said those IEPs cannot be modified. And so if you are a regular ed teacher and have special ed children, you need to consult with the special ed teachers on IEP needs. You need to implement multiple communication modes because we know that the internet is not as reliable around the state as we would like it to be. When you're planning, you want to engage students in meaningful learning. They're recommending, PED's recommending that teachers hold office hours throughout the day, be flexible. You need, those of you who have student teachers, you need to think of innovative ways to involve them. And when grading, the Secretary says to approach grading with caution. Think about support students in self-reflection. And lastly, which is on nobody's mind at this moment, but was shared in the call yesterday, at some point, we are going to have to think about allowing families time to retrieve belongings and valuables of their children from the schools. But like I said, that's not on anybody's mind right now. So, so this came from the Teacher Leader Network phone call yesterday. And so we wanted to share those highlights with all of you today. So I'm going to throw it over to Sarah.
Hi, everybody. So tying into what Evelyn just shared with you, this slide shows how the heart of national boards, also known as the 5 core propositions, align and correlate directly with what NEA national guidelines for this new way of teaching. And as we reimagine how we deliver our lessons to students, it's important to remember some of these guidelines. And so I'd like for you to be introduced to the 5 core propositions at this time. And the first proposition, core proposition number 1, says teachers are committed to students and their learning. And right now, we are proving that to be true. Really reimagining, committing to our students, trying to make this the best experience as possible. And if you look directly to the right, it says that the NEA National Recommended Guidelines also tie into this core proposition by recommending that we ensure digital equity with the computers, the internet, and to address the emotional toll on everybody involved in this experience. Core proposition number 2, teachers know the subjects that they teach and how to teach those subjects to students. And in the NEA National Recommended Guidelines, ensure digital equity, design independent learning. Core prop number 3 says teachers are responsible for managing and monitoring student learning. And that's exactly lined up with NEA National Recommended Guidelines to communicate daily schedules, set clear expectations with students and families, be consistent. Core proposition number 4, teachers think systematically about their practices and learn from their experience. And then NEA National recommends providing robust learning and choosing the right tools and sticking with them. And then core proposition number 5, teachers are members of learning communities, and NEA National again recommends just to address the emotional toil. And when you look at core prop 1 and core prop 5, for the purposes of this presentation, those are the 2 that we'll focus on the most, because as of this week, I know I'm in the trenches with all the teachers, and those are the 2 that have come up the most. I'd like to share, Ignacio, if you can click on the what book at the bottom. So something that national boards put together and put out, like I mentioned, it's the heart of national boards, and it's this book, What Teachers Should Know and Be Able to Do. And it is such there is so much rich writing in this particular book, and I encourage all of you to go and to download this particular piece because it is free for teachers on this website, and you'll have access to this as soon as Ignacio sends the presentation. And I've led some book studies involving this particular book, and what I'd like to share with all of you, especially right now, I know we all feel very vulnerable, but this book, when you read it, you will see yourself on the pages. And I've heard that over and over and over again through my book studies. And even 2 years ago, a colleague of mine who was just phenomenal, he was really close to quitting the profession. And I handed him this book and I invited him to do this book study with me. And he read it and he came back with his shoulders back and he said, I'm an accomplished teacher and this is what I'm doing correct. And I think this document right now will help remind us that we are doing what's best for our students, that we are committed to learning our subjects and learning how to deliver those to students. And so at this time of reimagining, reinventing, this could be a great resource just to help fill our souls again, because I know if you feel anything the way that I feel it's a heavy time.
If I may say, Sarah,
Yeah.
At the bottom of that page, that is a live link that will take you directly to the PDF. And so I just want to encourage people to access that, or you could simply do a Google search for what teachers should know and be able to do and look for a PDF. It's easily accessible.
And I know Ignacio, being our new Director of Professional Learning, loves that book and has really taken it into consideration as he prepares our professional development, our professional learning in the state of New Mexico. So it's just a good thing to fill the soul right now. This is a great graphic, just something to show how our evaluation system works with the 5 core propositions. It's a helix. It's a really perfect visual to show how everything works together. It's also a great visual to learn when planning lessons. And I know it has helped me in the past couple weeks. And so I wanted to share that with you. And I know, Ignacio, you had a little bit about the evaluation system.
Thank you, Sarah. So I had the privilege of being a part of the evaluation task force with PED. And because of the coronavirus, they haven't rolled out the new evaluation framework. But as of right now, it looks like 50% of your coming evaluations, teacher evaluations, will still be the 4 domains, still observations. This document is great in that it shows you how the 5 core propositions integrate with those 4 domains. So keep that in mind. This is a great resource for you.
Thanks, Ignacio. It's a great lesson planning tool.
So National Board started contacting National Board teachers and wanting to get topics. And on March 16th, they held a webinar, and teachers from all over the country were offering their ideas on what type of webinars to roll out to help teachers during this time. And so this is a direct quote. They said, we wanted to provide supports for teachers by hosting webinars to meet their needs. And after their first webinar, they collected data from teachers on what they needed and have developed a starter plan that has been evolving. And so at this time, the next slide, I'm going to show you some webinars that you might want to review for yourselves. Some of them have already happened, and there are some upcoming ones, but they did one on Zoom for teachers. Although I know many schools are not going to use Zoom, they're going to do Google Classroom, and they did a webinar on Google Classroom. Let's take it offline using Flipgrid, and then how do you keep student engagement, building community with students, building community with educators, and using Class Dojo. And then last night, they did one for students with special needs, and they had an update for candidates, but that's the teachers who are involved in national boards. They have one tonight on mindful meditation for teachers to take care of themselves during this time. If you go to the website you see at the top, the nbpts.org/COVID-19. That right when you get on that site, you will, thank you, Ignacio. If you scroll down, there they are. And so these are all of the webinars that they're putting out. And at this time, Sarah's going to show you, or she's going to demonstrate the Google Classroom and how National Boards is formatting this so that, and the resources that will be provided to teachers. So,
Evelyn, before you pass it on to Sarah, I want to reemphasize these resources provided by national boards is meant for, of course, national board certified teachers, but really all teachers. So take advantage of it. It was designed and geared toward all teachers to help them during this time, during this crisis.
right, and so when you do go to the COVID site and you can register, you just click on these and then you just register. And it is like, I'm sorry, I should have said that. It is open for every teacher or any educator.
All right.
And I have to say, one of my friends, actually she's a teacher in Louisiana, she said something about how unexpected and quick all of this, it's just been so sudden. And looking at the dates when, national boards started trying to roll out all these helpful webinars to help teachers, and not just national boards, NEA has rolled out, just how quickly the resources have just been given to us. I'm just so thankful, and sometimes it feels like way too much, I know, but if one of these helps, that's what we're here for. So if you do click onto any of the webinars, the follow-up material on the National Board website, anything you're interested in, this is kind of the setup. So if you'll go ahead, Ignacio, please, and hit the replay. So they show for, it looks like about an hour and 20 minutes typically when you get onto one of these replays, but a lot of it is just the setup, and you can fast forward through some of their questions, because what they try to do and what they've started to do is take the temperature of the room. And so that's a lot of the beginning part of it, and then they get started, and about 15 minutes in, that's what I've kind of seen. So you'll know who the presenters are. And as you go through, you won't really need the norms because these have already been presented, unless you join a live session in the days coming. But they give a lot of different slides. I know they share these slides. Again, you can watch them and rewatch them and get tips and tricks. And then, of course, on the resources there are the slides. If you'd rather just click through the slides and get the information you need as quickly as possible, you can do that. And I'll wait for it to load. So typically all the presentations look pretty much the same, and they like to get to know people. That's why those slides are in there. But again, you can click through, scroll through, grab what you need just to support and help you. And knowing a lot of the presenters, they're wonderful, they're knowledgeable, they're supportive. I know I have emails, and I've emailed and addressed to them before, and they always respond. So just some really good graphics. And if you are struggling, or if one of your colleagues are struggling with Google Classroom, this is a good place to point them. They have great graphics, as you've seen as Ignacio scrolled down. So if you don't have time to help them, this might be, hey, take a look at this first, I can help you tomorrow. Or because I know we've got parents and kids and teachers who all need our help right now.
I'm curious, how many attending actually use or could use Google Classroom? Could you raise your hand?
It looks like they're all.
Shaylin, I see you raising your hand.
The next resource here, I think it's the Excel spreadsheet.
No, this is the Google folder.
Oh, the Google folder, okay. And so there is a place where teachers can throw in different just helpful tips. again, I know this gets to be a lot, but sometimes just ciphering through a little bit, or just once you're ready to get another idea, there's some really great resources here. So be sure to check those out. The question and answer transcripts from the webinars, they're quite lengthy. I looked through some of them, and I believe that some of them are answered, not all of them. So that's kind of lengthy. If you're short on time, I would skip over that and ask questions for people who can reply right away. I think that question and answer transcript was more for the participants in the webinars. And so in the future, if you sign up for one, that would be the place where your question will be captured. And then, of course, you get a certificate of attendance, which is really nice because that'll, you know, help with our professional development needs, as Ignacio shared. I'm sure that will be something that we can add to show that we did this for professional development. Although right now I feel like we're not short on professional development as teachers, but.
I think it's important that you have the option to choose your own, and that's where we're going with NEA New Mexico Center for the Advancement of Professional Practice.
So ECHO for Education, I'm not sure how many on the call are familiar with ECHO, but it's offered through the UNM Health Science Centers, and they have launched virtual classroom and e-learning. ECHO started with online professional development for teachers in the rural areas of our state. And again, like Sarah said, how quickly everyone has come on to offer resources, and ECHO is also doing that. So if we look at the next, we'll be looking at the next two slides. On this slide, you'll see that they have experts to talk about Zoom, Google Sites, Padlet, PBS Learning Media. It's open to everyone in New Mexico. There's no cost, and it began yesterday, April 8th. They're focused on presenting the knowledge and skills needed for teachers to apply immediately. And so there's a registration link here that if this is something, if you want to learn more about these topics, you can register, and they use Zoom, so it's the same format you're seeing on the screen right now. And they will have experts there to talk to you and answer any questions you might have about any of the topics that they're presenting. And then they have another ECHO for Education on the next slide. And there's a different link, and they have some upcoming presentations. So on the 7th, they did online tools and resources similar to what we're doing this evening, but they did have the PBS learning media presented. And then on the 14th, they have a dual activities for dual credit, teaching reading skills. On the 21st, there's tools for virtual learning using Padlet. The 28th is a national board presentation, and on the 5th of May is online and virtual tools. And so, again, on this slide, there's another link. If these are any of these sound something that catches your interest, you want to learn more about, please feel free to share these links with any of your colleagues, and then you can join in on these webinars as well to help you gather the tools you need to create your online education.
And Evelyn, may I add something about ECHO?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a chance to explore a lot about ECHO, but I've heard a lot through the network, our national board network. And what's interesting about this, ECHO was far advanced and ready for a lot of the remote learning. That's what they've been researching and trying to figure out how to bring online education to these rural areas. And so they're already ahead of the game in a way. And so this might be a really great platform to check out.
And just a little history, ECHO was started for the medical profession, the doctors. And there are lots of ECHOs for different fields in medicine. And this is where doctors, they get like a a short little PD, 15-minute PD, and then they bring a case study and they get recommendations from doctors all around the world on how to treat patients. And so that's how ECHO began. And then the doctor who created it thought, you know, this could be helpful for education. And so 2 years ago, they invited the New Mexico NBCT network to partner with them in offering the first ECHOs in education for the world. And so New Mexico, we jumped onto it, and first one was for high school teachers and how to increase graduation rates. And then last year we worked with all of the Educator Rising teachers who recruit juniors and seniors into the teaching profession. And so the teachers who offer the Educator Rising program, they met on the ECHO and you know, helped each other as they were offering that curriculum to the high school students. So that's how ECHO for education is really new, but it has a lot of potential to bring professional development, quality professional development to teachers, especially in rural areas where it would take hours for them to drive, you know, to get professional development. So ECHO, that's the direction that we're trying to move with some PD, and ECHO for education is working with the ECHO for medicine to do that.
So here I'd like to talk about some of the resources NEA New Mexico offers. And you can actually use this link and go to the live website. I'm going to take you there now. Our communications team and NEA New Mexico has done a lot of work in putting together these resources. I wanted to point out the second slider here. It is a weekly newsletter. A new one will be coming out, I believe, tonight. And we always have the invitation for the next webinar on there. We're going to continue to have you register just for security's sake, but keep an eye out for that. So you can click on these sliders and see the main things that they cover. And there's some great information. They're linked. Just click on the links and follow them and get some information. I wanted to share with you some teacher resources we have for distance learning right here. And the guidelines that were referred to before by Sarah are right here, NEA Digital Learning Guidelines. This is an extremely valuable document. If you're a leader in your district, it gives you some important advice on what should be done. There are 5 essential questions. Of course, question number 2, Sarah talked about in detail, what should I consider when implementing a digital learning program? And she and Evelyn both brilliantly connected those to the 5 core propositions. Let's go back. I want to show you a few other things. Last week, I know a few of you were on last week. There's the Educator Distance Learning Toolkit that PED put out. It is an extraordinary resource with lots of support. They put a lot of time and energy and thought into this document, and they have the different levels, different subject areas, and so many different things that you can use in your distance learning programs. So I would take the time to really look at all of these, find your area. Here's English language arts, general language development, science, just a great resource. And I'm going to also point out, farther down in this document, you have 6 lessons learned about remote learning during coronavirus outbreak. And then for leaders, a coronavirus outreach plan, 5 steps for district leaders. I'm not going to take time to go through that specifically, but if you can, take the time to look at it. I know many of you are also parents. We have here in this second little box, family and student resources, and the resources here are geared a little more toward families. Please take advantage of it. Again, there's a Families Distance Learning Toolkit created by the PED, similar to the one for the teachers, but it gives you some specific help. We are trying to send the message that our parents are not homeschoolers. And so whatever you can do to help them so that they don't get overwhelmed during this crisis. Let's see. Go back. Take your kids on a virtual field trip. This one is fun. And by the way, Evelyn's daughter is the manager of the Albuquerque Biopark, the general manager, and they're putting together their own little virtual tours. On a later webinar, we're going to share those with you. Did you want to say anything about that, Evelyn?
No, it was really Ignacio who we were talking and said, you know, the Albuquerque Zoo really needs to step up. And then we went looking, didn't see anything. And so I just got on the phone and I said, so all the other zoos are doing stuff and where's Albuquerque? And so she made some phone calls and that's what they've been working on it and putting it together. So,
and right now I think they have river otters, my favorite animal in the whole world, and the elephants.
yeah.
So we'll get information on that at a later time. So those are the NEA New Mexico resources. I want to talk to you about upcoming webinars. So we're going to have a series of 8. This is number 2. And number 3 is coming up next week. And in fact, the presenter has joined us tonight, Cheryl Carreon. And Cheryl, could you speak for maybe 30 seconds or a minute? And let me just preface this with, Cheryl is a brilliant teacher, and anytime you get a chance to listen to her, you will walk away with so much knowledge and wisdom. Cheryl, would you mind?
You're sweet. That's another way of saying I'm old. So I am super proud to be a 30-year educator. I work for LCPS. I'm not in my classroom. It's my virtual background because I am Zooming with my 3- and 4-year-old developmentally delayed students. And so I've had a learning curve and it's pretty interesting. But I use some tech tools like Seesaw as just a matter of course to really connect to my families and build relationships and help them meet their kids' communication needs just every day throughout the year. So I've just kind of extended that and have some pretty interesting ways that work has changed lately, from helping somebody to get cable to had to call the police on somebody, and at the same time worked with the state representative to get a housing problem fixed. But it's definitely, you know, been an interesting and a learning curve and a new way to connect with families. And I think that's exactly what cultural relevance is about, and what we hope to do every day is to know our families and know their needs. And if you don't know your needs, you can't address them. So I'm excited to talk to you in a couple weeks. I just found out about this yesterday, so I can't exactly frame my whole message. But I think just that there's a meme going around too, but just that statement, you have to Maslow before you can bloom. And I think that means a lot to teachers, and that's going to be the kind of essence of what I'll talk to you about.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Cheryl.
I love your background. I thought you had transferred your classroom to the back of, that's brilliant what you did.
Thank you. That was really, it really is my my circle time area. And that was one moment of clarity, trying to pack up my classroom in 30 minutes as fast as I could. So it doesn't happen often, but that was like a moment when I thought about, what am I going to do to help the kids? And then I have to show them, I'm not in my classroom where you would be here too. I'm not there and I can't be. So I take it off so that they can see that I'm not there. Plus it messes up and it doesn't let me show my puppets and things like that. It kind of messes it up, but where I am is pretty boring. So I make sure they see that, because like I said, it's quite a different population, and I think you have to, there's a lot of new ways to think about things, isn't there? Isn't that good to help our brains stay fresh, to think about ways to problem solve?
Cheryl, that is so wonderful. my 12-year-old who always said he didn't like school, when this happened, he just talks about how he really wants to go back. What a wonderful way to help them to kind of reconnect. Thank you for that.
I have puppets too, if you guys need to see them. And it was Bee Week, so I have our special bird, and I have Buzz Lightyear and some other toys. So I've been showed a lot of toys and other things this week from kids that are little. So it's an interesting way to Zoom.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
See, I am just going to go quickly. So then we have really a great webinar that Sarah may also participate in, a friend of hers who does some amazing work using interactive hyperdocs in your teaching. And of course, I skipped number 4, alternative ways to connect with students other than through the internet. That is a longtime art teacher in Santa Fe, also the local president. Some of these may change order depending on availability. At the very bottom, well, you'll see there are 2 that to be determined. So I would like to get input from anybody and everybody on what types of webinars you would like to see. There are so many going on, but I'm sure there are things that are missing that we really need. Let us know, and we'll do everything we can to accommodate that. The very last webinar is going to be on micro-credentials that NEA is offering. So I told you the evaluation, 50% is going to still be the 4 domains. The other 50% looks like it's going to be PD. So we have these micro-credentials. We have specific micro-credentials supporting the 5 core propositions. We have 6 just on classroom management, as well as many others, community schools. So consider those. And as we go through this, actually, I hope you will continue to come back and encourage other people to attend these webinars. With that, let's see. I'll pass it back to Evelyn.
Sorry, my little puppy's over here whining. I didn't want you guys to hear her. So again, together we can do this. And there are so many people. When I listen, I've been on a lot of webinars for all different kinds of things with all different teachers from all over the place. And I just am so in awe of how quickly teachers have jumped in to change how we've always taught so that we could keep educating the students that we are assigned to this year. When I first heard school was going to be out for the year, I was like, they can't do that, you know, these poor kids. And so, but I knew that wasn't going to stay like that, because right away, even when that first announcement was made, I had colleagues who were already thinking about, how do I get on Zoom? I need to connect with my students. And so I think this is sort of a very historic moment in our profession. And as all of us are continuous learners, lifelong learners, we will go out and we will search for things that will connect with our practice so that we can refine our practice and give the best teaching for our students. So I thank you all for joining us. And like this slide says, together we can do this. And Sarah, Ignacio, and I, ECHO for Education, National Boards, and NEA New Mexico are here to help in your journey as you develop this new online education.
Thank you, Evelyn. At this time,
Thank you.
if anybody has some comments, any other insights that you would like to share with the group that may be shared later on, I see there is someone that said thank you all. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Jalen.
Any questions you have, they would try to answer. But
Are you all both up north? Are you in Albuquerque, or no? Where are you?
I live in Alamogordo,
Okay.
and then
And
Evelyn's in. Sorry.
I'm in Rio Rancho, New Mexico.
Okay. I just wondered about the ECHO resources, because I hadn't seen them, and I get directives from from DD Pre. We go through UNM, but I think our Southerners aren't as familiar with the UNM resources. So thank you.
Yeah, the ECHO Institute is in Albuquerque.
Okay. I figured you guys would like to know, but Cheryl knows. So Betty, if you look at the bottom of your screen when it pops up with a menu of what you can do you look at the arrow right next to the right of the stop video? Do you see it? And you should have the option to choose your virtual background. And the Hawaiian one is there. Evelyn just changed hers.
And Evelyn becomes invisible. So I don't know why mine doesn't work like Sarah's.
And then Cheryl is showing you the example that you can take a picture from anywhere and upload it to your virtual background.
So here's my Harry Potter library.
Cool.
And this is a Star Wars bar theme, so I have to remember to take that off before I get on with my classroom. Because that's for my new happy hour Zooms. That's an essential.
That is so great. This happy hour Zoom has been fun too.
We have had family Zooms, and Betty, that's a great way just to talk to your grandkids and say, hey, buddy, will you Zoom with me? And then you can say, how do you do this or that? Because honestly, we can learn more from 5 to 13-year-olds about Zooming than this old person could tell you.
Thank you. And I did have to get my grandson in here quickly because Sherry Nolan had him when he was in 2nd grade. So
Awesome.
That's awesome.
thank you guys. Great job.
Thanks,
you.
Betty.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
in there.
Evelyn, I propose we have a puppy Zoom right after the meeting.
A puppy Zoom? Yes, she's right here. She's dying to see all of you
Mine
here.
are right here too. Yeah.
My dog is on the other side of the door dropping the ball and squeaking it. So.
Thank
It's
you.
mine. Say hi. Look at all the people. Now she gets quiet.
We do have one more slide, just real quickly. Any questions, comments, suggestions, specifically for future CAPP webinars, even if it goes beyond the 8 weekly webinars, but any suggestions or any help that you might need concerning this, your welfare during this crisis, please email us at that email right there. And then we will respond to you and do everything we can to help you out. And anything else anybody wants to bring up? Okay, then. Thank you, everybody. I want to extend a special thanks to Evelyn Sanchez and Sarah Johnston, our presenters. Thank you very much. And everybody be well.
Stay well.
Thank you.